I don't want to scare anyone, but I'm going to give it to you straight. Legend has it that if you are in the bathroom and say Attack of the Killer Podcast 12 times in the mirror with the lights off, while holding a cross upside down, during a full moon, while wearing white after Labor Day, while standing on one leg. Oh, and you got to make sure the toilet seat is down. And you're squinting. Nothing will happen. But if you happen to click play on this, you just might hear movies about urban legends on this episode of Attack of the Killer Podcast.
Attention planet Earth and beyond. Stay tuned for Attack of the Killer Podcast. 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 Yay.
What is happening, everybody? I am Insane Mike, the host of Attack of the Killer Podcast. This is episode 229. We're calling Urban Legends. And no, Brandy, it's not the movie Urban Legends. We will be talking about movies that deal with different types of urban legends. You see, we here at Attack of the Killer Podcast, what we do is we pick a topic, we discuss movies within that topic, and we talk open and freely. So there might be spoilers, just to forewarn you. So deal with it. Now, you too can become a legend. See what I did there? And you can become a supporter of the show and become what we call an attacker. See, now attackers are a unique class in our society, higher than the 1%. It's like 0.00001%. You're better than a lizard person. So when you support the show, you become an attacker and you get special perks that bring meaning to your life. You can get such perks as bonus episodes, so you can get the show every single week that way. You can get, your own official membership card and certificate, and so much more. You can become an attacker by going to jointheattackers.com, pick the tier you want to get the bonus content that best suits you. That's jointheattackers.com. Go, do it. We'll wait. One of the perks about being an attacker is getting a shout out on the show, just like our newest attacker and member of the Attack of the Killer Podcast family, Cheryl Pierce. Pierce?
Yeah.
Cheryl.
Thanks, Cheryl.
Thank you, Cheryl. Thanks so much for being an attacker. You are awesome. Now, Cheryl, I'm Insane Mike, and I'd like you to meet the people who make up this fine podcast. That's right. It's time to introduce you to the podcast crew. Some say if you play that backwards, it won't say Paul is dead, but instead it'll say Jason is the real Paul. Jason, everybody!
Hey, I like that. And since I do the editing, I might just see what that does sound like for fun.
I would be curious, too. He was flushed down the toilet and grew up to terrorize the streets of New York. Tad!
Hey.
Have you heard of the well to hell? Well, he dated her in high school. Andy!
Oh, my.
More like college, but yeah. How's it going?
And our very special guest from the Bret and Tony Podcast that you can hear right here on the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, Bret Royer, everybody.
Hey, guys.
Thanks for being on the show, Bret. Brett, why don't you tell the listeners a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your podcast?
Sure. Like you said, it's the Bret and Tony Podcast. We got a new episode every 2 weeks of the normal podcast, and then on our off weeks, we pick a random B movie off of Shudder, and talk about that for a little bit. So it's a lot of fun. Listen in, and like you said, it's on the pfpn.com.
Yeah, it's an awesome show. Really, really great. I love it. And thanks for joining us on this show, man.
Oh,
that's great.
Thank you so much for having me, guys.
Not a problem. You know what isn't an urban legend?
What?
That Shudder is the best horror streaming service out there,
True.
because that's just a fact. Now, if you have not signed up for Shudder yet, what are you waiting
Fuck
for?
you.
Yeah.
Eat shit.
Oh, this is why we don't have more sponsors. Shudder has everything for any type of horror fan. You can get a free month of Shudder for free, thanks to us here at Attack the Killer Podcast. All you have to do is enter our promo code AOTKP, and that way you can check it out for yourself. That promo code is AOTKP. Get on the Shudder train today, so the guys will quit swearing at you. You can get the first month for free on us. Again, the promo code AOTKP.
Yeah, dickhead.
Sorry.
Make the cursing stop. Do it today.
This just reminds me of like freaking Idiocracy. Charles Jr. says, "Fuck you." Oh, now as the story goes, if you close your eyes and stand towards the east, you can faintly hear the sounds of Tad with What We Watched.
All right, let's go with Andy first. What have you watched?
Okay, all right, here we go. Recently I had an internet buddy send me some independent films.
Did you do
From,
finger quotes when you said internet buddy? Just a question.
Yeah, well,
Sorry.
yeah, he does. I've bought stuff from him before, and he just sent me these, and he sent me some independent films out of Florida by Gator Blade Films, and this one is made by Sean Donahue, and the title is not misleading at all. It's called Naked Cannibal Campers. A lot of nudity, a lot of cannibalism,
And a lot of camping.
Yeah.
Not a lot of campers, but I stress the word camp. Okay, you are getting what you paid for. A lot of nudity. Like, it has these witches that like to eat people, and that's how they sustain their bodies. And yeah, it was actually shot during the pandemic, and well, we're still in it, but like smack dab in the middle of it in Florida. And he talks about that in the special features. But yeah, lot of boobies and a lot of fake blood, and probably a good thing I watched it while my wife's back was turned while she was, working, kind of like she is now. Moving on. I also watched a old school slasher that they say doesn't get a lot of love. And it was made by the same guys who made Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2. The Raimi brothers are in it, and it was directed by Scott Spiegel. And it's actually got really good gore in it because Kurtzman, Berger, and Nicotero worked on the effects. And it is called Intruder.
Yeah.
And have any of you guys seen this? Sounds like Mike
yeah.
has.
Oh, hell yeah. I love that movie.
I really, really enjoyed this. It has the late Danny Hicks in it. Like I said, it's got the Raimi brothers. It has a cameo by Bruce Campbell, and the gore in it is really good. And it's all shot in this supermarket, which I think needs to be more of. That's a very, very niche horror
Setting, yeah.
setting. Yeah, it's all one setting, and yeah, just the stuff that they could do with, like, the butcher shop and the conveyors and just stuff like that. I really, really, really liked it. So if you get a chance, check out Intruder. I actually bought the Blu-ray DVD combo, and I'm glad that I did.
Yeah.
From Synapse Films. So check it out. I also watched a newer movie. It's called, and it's an independent one. You can watch it on Prime. It's a 2021 movie. It's called The Night They Knocked, and it's a lower budget film. it's not all that great. I mean, it's and I'm trying to be nice because I mean I feel like they really tried. It was shot really well, but they only had like so much to work with. But I mean, it's basically it's a Strangers ripoff. I mean, it's like a carbon copy of it. You know, isolated cabin, bunch of college kids out there, and these people just start coming in and trying to kill them. And it's just it really kind of fell flat with me. And plus, a couple of the guys that are attacking them, they do talk a lot of crap, but they're all dressed like clowns. And to me, at this point, clowns are the new zombies. It's really just almost too overdone at this point. But if you're into that sort of
Clowntergeist
thing,
really messed you up. Then.
Yeah,
oh God,
sure did.
just well, this is Citizen Kane compared to fucking Clowntergeist. But yeah, if it's a new movie that you want to check out, I mean, you can. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that. And I went real old school and I watched I have a VHS that I got, and it's you want to talk campy as hell. This is a Fred Olen Ray film with Jan Michael Vincent. It actually has PJ Souls, and it has Joe Pilato in it.
Name that movie.
It is called Alienator.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, it's about an escaped convict from space and a female bodybuilding alien who has a laser gun on her arm with the worst absolutely practical effects in it. And I absolutely love this movie because it's so freaking campy and just damn bizarre. The outfit that PJ Souls wears in this movie is literally the most ridiculous thing, and if I ever see her again, I was like, that couldn't have been comfortable. Yes, I'll read you just the front of the video cassette. It'll kind of give you an idea as to what you're getting into here. An android hunter from outer space is about to create hell on Earth. Alienator. In deep space, the deadliest animal is still woman.
Nice.
Yeah. 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 Lots of fun. I don't know how much cocaine Jan Michael Vincent was taking during this time, but I think this is after Airwolf, so he might have needed the work or the money. But yeah. Alienator, and that's all I got. Oh, and I also watched The Hills Run Red again because I really dig that. I think that slasher is underrated, but that's all I got.
All right, let's jump over to Mike. What have you watched?
Man, my list is super short this time. I don't know where the 2 weeks has gone. I haven't watched hardly anything. I only have one thing to talk about, but I might have a lot to say. Have any of you guys seen the movie? It's from 2018 called Await Further Instructions.
I don't think so.
No.
Oh man, this may show up on a topic or something because I want you guys to see it. It's on Netflix. It's from 2018. It's a British film about a family's Christmas that takes a strange turn when they wake up to find themselves trapped inside their house and they begin receiving mysterious instructions through the television. It is a great movie. I freaking loved it. I was enthralled. I first heard about it by watching. I watch a lot of stupid, and that's probably why I don't have very many movies on my list this week. I watch a lot of stupid YouTube videos like top 10 lists and stuff. And Top 10 did a list of like underrated horror films. And when they showed clips of this and was describing it, I was like, oh, I got to check this out. Because it's way more bizarre than the description I just gave you. Like, the family's super dysfunctional. The father's like a super asshole. The mother's mother's obviously got some emotional issues. The son is dating this woman that's like a doctor, and she is I think like from Australia or something like that. I'm trying to remember now. But there's obviously some racial and cultural tension between her and the rest of the family. And the son's estranged just because the dad is such a dickhead. He never comes around. And then there's a sister who's pregnant, and her dumb jock of a husband. And so they're already a mess of a family, and this really divides them even more, and it goes down some dark paths, but it's so enthralling because you want to know what is going on. Like the son and the girlfriend, they try to leave early, and when they open the door, the whole front of the door is just completely closed off with like this weird black material that they cannot penetrate. They cannot break it down, and every window is covered in this, and basically they think there's some kind of government quarantine going on, and they keep getting these like weirdo instructions through the television as if it's some kind of national emergency. Like at one point they're like trying to figure out what's going on, and then all of a sudden this package comes down through the fireplace, and they open it up, and it's a bunch of hypodermic needles, and then instructions pop up on the TV saying, "This is the vaccine. Everybody must take this." And that turns into a whole big thing. And by the time you get to the third act, it is batshit crazy. But highly, highly recommended. It is a great movie. Directed by a guy named Johnny Kevorkian, who only really directed 2 movies, 2 features, and 3 short films. And then he apparently died in 2020, unfortunately. So, so if you guys get a chance to check it out, I seriously, it's one of the best things I've seen in a long time. Await further instructions.
Sounds awesome.
Neat.
Yeah.
And that's all I've had a chance to watch.
That's your list? Okay.
Yeah.
Jason, do you have something to make up for that?
I do. I saw these 2 really awesome movies on Friday called Tammy and the T-Rex and The Love Witch.
See, I didn't even get around to watching Joe Bob this.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I know.
Well, live tweeter Tad was on a tear, let me tell you.
Oh, yeah, my phone was blowing up.
Right. But yeah, seeing Tammy again. I think my roller coaster of Tammy, I was so excited. The concept, amazing. The first time I saw it, loved it, awesome. And now I'm watching it again, second, third time, and I'm like, man, this movie's just...
Because you were watching it by yourself.
No, but it's just terrible. It's terrible.
But see, that's what make movies like that awesome.
I'm saying
is
it was
the collective experience.
It was the first time I watched it, and the second time I watched it, which were all by myself with Tina. Still, I'm just saying, the more I have to look at what's happening on the screen, it doesn't get better. That's all I'm saying. It's still good. It's just not. I don't know. It's worn off. I don't know. I mean, it's hilarious.
It still felt great for me because it still felt like a communal watching when I'm on Twitter and
absolutely.
I've got people bouncing all over,
And the Joe Bob insights always wonderful. And The Love Witch was great. Still, again, it was the second time I've seen it, and Joe Bob made that great, and the director was awesome.
She was
and amazing,
awesome, yeah.
Right? Oh yeah, so good.
So since I missed it, Tammy was the first film, and Love Witch was the second.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That's weird. You'd think that'd be the other way around with the way he usually does the movies. Usually the B feature is the second movie.
And then we watched a bunch of chick flicks, I can say that, on Valentine's Day. But then the TV's just kind of on last week, and this movie comes on, and I've never seen it, and Tina's like, I think I've seen this. And there's Will Ferrell, and he's on there, and that's great, right? And then there's Kevin Hart, and it's like so edited beyond belief. And I'm like, man. And then Mike's other girlfriend, Allison Bree's on there.
Was it like
lingerie.
Get Hard or something?
Get Hard, yeah.
And
Get
so,
Hard.
So we were like, oh man, let's turn this off and then go find the real version and watch it. So it was the first time I'd ever seen it, and goddamn, it's just the funniest fucking thing I've ever seen. It was great. Will Ferrell and Kevin Hart at their finest. It was super funny. I just hadn't seen it before. It's a good comedy. And then I guess the last thing I wanted to mention, and I forgot to the last couple episodes, is Tina and I started watching a sci-fi show. That's right.
What?
A sci-fi TV show that's fucking great. And I can't wait to tell you about it because it stars Alan Tudyk.
Oh, is it that new sci-fi one where he's an alien? In
Yeah, it's
disguise
called
or whatever?
Resident Alien.
Not Alan One Dick.
That's right. It's Alan Tudyk from Tucker
Yeah.
and Dale and Firefly.
I've been seeing the trailers to that, and I mean,
It's great!
When you see the sci-fi logo
Oh, I
pop
know.
up, you get
I
a little
know.
nervous, but
I know, but then
it's Alan Tudyk. I mean, like,
I think if you have the app on your Roku or whatever, you at least get the first 2 or 3 episodes free, or it'll come out on there and you can watch it that way. That's what we've been doing. But it's just it's awesome. I mean, it's obviously a sci-fi, not the channel, but it's a sci-fi concept of an alien that crashes on the planet. He kills a human and takes their place and can morph into them, and so he's pretending to be this doctor in a small town, and then the town starts needing a doctor, and so he has to like go into town and pretend to be a doctor, and it's funny as fuck. Imagine him trying to pretend to be a human, and that's what we watch a lot of. And
awesome.
And
I know for one defense of sci-fi's name, I feel like they have like one good series a year. Like they did, they did Happy, they did Channel Zero, and they're doing this.
Yeah.
Like they do have some decent stuff on there. They've just got
in there.
their.
That's true.
They've tarnished their name so bad with their original films, and it's just, you know, it's hard to trust them. But they do seem to invest in one solid show a year.
That's true. I forgot about Happy. I freaking loved
Oh,
that
yeah.
show.
Yeah, so
I was
funny.
bummed there wasn't a third season.
They're kind of like canon films. Every once in a while, they have like a happy accident where they
Right.
do something like really cool.
But so far, they've only got 3 episodes out, and that's great. So I totally wanted to recommend that. But that's what I watched.
All right, Brett, what have you seen recently?
Ooh, well, guys, I'm gonna be straight with you. The last couple months, I was watching Gilmore Girls.
Oh, Brett.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody's ever seen that. Yeah,
Brett.
but we just finished. So I'm getting caught up on some things. I just watched Psycho Gorman the other night.
Yeah.
Oh
Yes.
my god! Whoa! And you guys have been talking about this movie, but oh my god!
Oh,
just
yeah.
hearing people talk about it and then seeing it is just two complete different things. Great movie, loved it.
Yeah.
And then for yes, right. And then for Valentine's, me and my girlfriend Katie, we did a couple movies. We did The Shallows,
Mm-hmm.
the shark movie,
Love it.
and 47 Meters Down Uncaged, and then Crawl.
Nice.
Oh, cool.
Nice
Yeah,
little
it was-
triple feature.
Going on a vacation soon or something, right?
It was a pretty good day. Well, those are like especially shark movies. Oh my god, those are the ones that get me.
And
then,
The Shallows
and then-
is good.
Oh, so good. And then Tad actually got me on Joe Bob here recently, and I watched the Tammy and the T-Rex the other night. And I tried watching The Love Witch, but I was tired as fuck, and I'd worked all day,
Uh-huh.
and I kind of passed out. So I might have to check that one out.
I have passed out during the second Joe Bob movie several times until I started live tweeting him, and that's kept me, like, forced me awake. But I agree with Mike. You probably should have reversed the two because I love The Love Witch, but it's a much slower movie. And
Yeah.
to put it second is a test of your endurance for sure.
Yep. And I mean, I'd already seen Tammy and the T-Rex, so if they went with that one second, Love Witch first, I would have been no problem.
Yeah.
But that's basically where I'm sitting.
All right. Someone asked me what I watched.
Tad, what have you been watching?
Oh man, I have a short list, but a sweet list. For my podcast, a fellow PFPN podcaster, Donald from the Movie Defenders, picked a movie for me, and I'll go ahead and this will be out, I think, after this episode drops. So if you're listening to this, go back and listen to my episode on Xanadu.
Oh,
Anybody a fan of this one on the show?
never seen it.
I haven't seen it, but the wife could not finish it.
Oh, Brandy's a huge fan.
I loved it. Spoiler alert, I have no idea how Donald. I think I thought he was trying to troll me at first,
Right.
And then I watch it, and I'm like, how does he know me so well? I've talked to him in person once. We're sort of just acquaintances, and he picked this movie out of the sky, and you'll hear how passionate Donald is about this movie.
Oh, cool.
But Xanadu is wild. It's a roller skating fantasy love movie where Olivia Newton-John is a goddess who comes to life from a mural of an album cover.
Of course, that old story. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, and it has Gene Kelly in several musical numbers. It was his last film. I have, it's on paper it shouldn't work, and on the screen it doesn't exactly work in the way they probably thought, but it is magically weird. It is. I can't even describe it without just listen to the episode.
Magically weird. Oh boy.
Yeah. I
That's
mean,
good.
the movie starts with this artist ripping up a drawing, throws it out the window, it blows down the street, hits a mural of these girls on roller skates, and they come to life, and that's where it starts. And then the musical numbers are a mesh of 40s musicals on the Gene Kelly side, and then we have Olivia Newton-John's, which is the late 70s. It was released in 1980, but it was like at the very end of the 70s when it was made. So they're combining the late 70s with the 40s. Yeah.
Wow.
Very strange movie, but lovely. I had a blast with it. It's something that it would be a blast to watch with a crowd.
Man, I almost feel like you're almost ready for movies like The Apple and Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band.
I want to see the Apple so bad.
We talk about both of those in depth
really?
on the show. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
You might spring it on your next birthday party.
We talk about that.
Yeah.
You guys are just like, I'm so easy to read.
Maybe know you a little bit.
But I'm going to take a big left turn, and the next movie I watched was the new Nick Cage movie, Willy's Wonderland.
Whoa.
Oh, is that good?
Oh, that's out?
Yes, it's out. I would not say it's good, but I was a little let down for the premise of they've been pushing that it's Nick Cage versus animatronic Chuck E. Cheese animals, sort of, or like Five Nights at Freddy's. I don't know what that
boy.
Five Nights at Freddy's is, but a lot of people are like, this movie's ripping off Five Nights at Freddy's. I'm not going to spoil anything because it just came out, but the idea, the premise, I'll say this without spoiling anything. Basically, Nick Cage is like this badass. His car breaks down in this small town, and of course they don't have the parts in stock. So the deal is, we'll fix your car. They make you pay in cash. Oh, Nick Cage doesn't have any cash. The deal is, if you stay the night at Willy's Wonderland and clean up the place, you can stay there for free, and they'll fix your car for free. Turns out Willy's Wonderland is like an abandoned Chuck E. Cheese with a bunch of animatronics, and they try to kill Nick Cage, and as you can imagine, Nick Cage isn't cool with that. So
That's so Nick Cage.
I thought here the weird thing about it. Okay.
Oh, we're not even to the weird part yet. Okay.
No, because we see. I mean, I've posted a trailer in the Facebook group and stuff, and they clearly, were stunt casting with Nick Cage. I was a little hesitant because of the trailer. I'm like, okay, we're reaching a level now where Nick Cage is just playing the Nick Cage that we all expect, like a parody of himself. This movie, they cast Nick Cage. He has no lines.
What?
He doesn't say a word. He does not say a word in the whole. You don't know anything about him. We never learn anything about him. He doesn't say anything. He has no lines. Why the fuck would you cast him?
That's really interesting, though.
So is that like the second half of the movie just like a silent film then? In the sense of like, because it's just him in there. Is it just him in there? Or does he have other people in there with him?
He can't say.
I won't spoil too much because it's not really a spoiler, because there's a big twist that it sort of explains what's going on. But the idea is that he goes in here, and these local teenagers they find out that he's in there, and they're like, they want to stop it, so they're trying to save him, and so they go into Willy's Wonderland to help save him. But Nick Cage, his character, which I'm pretty sure he's just playing Nick Cage,
right.
He, for some reason, the thing throughout the movie is he slams energy drinks and is obsessed with pinball. There's a
See,
pinball
I-
machine in the building, and he keeps getting like, no matter what's happening, he has a timer on his watch, and it dings. He has to down an energy drink and play pinball.
Sounds like Jason.
Weird. Yeah, right.
I
That's
have
probably
to
an interesting
ask,
choice, though, for an actor
though.
to. Yeah.
I have to ask, even though Nick Cage doesn't have any lines in this movie, I'm almost positive, and I have to ask, is he still overacting?
There's a few there's a few scenes that are like, okay, like it feels, but that's what I didn't really like about it. It's like it was sort of cool concept. Like he said he chose it because he thought it would be interesting to try to convey emotions throughout the movie without having any lines. But there are some scenes where it felt like after they cast him, they're like, we got to put one of these scenes in where he's just over the top, and it's like, we didn't need that. I sort of liked the fact that he was mysterious. Like, we didn't at those points. He felt the most like he's just playing Nick Cage and not a character. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, dance for us, Nick Cage. It's like that type of
Right.
thing. And I was sort of like, I'm over this. Like, in some of the CGI is really bad. Yeah. So it's
And it's
worth
called what
watching.
again?
Willy's Wonderland.
Okay.
I believe it's on demand right now. I think it's one of those like theater and movie or theater in at home.
Yeah.
So it's like $20 to rent. But yeah, Willy's Wonderland. It's worth watching. It just didn't do what I hoped on paper. And then on the other end of things, I saw A24's new film Saint Maud. I watched this last night. It's been in limbo for release for 2 years now. It feels like every time it's supposed to come out, something happened, and finally we had a release date, and then COVID happened. So it's been pushed back, and finally it I don't even know what you'd call it. Had like it makes me think of like a balloon deflating. Just had this like shitty release. Like after all this buildup, it went to Epix, which is a streaming service. Yeah, it had a 1 weekend in very limited theaters, and then it went to Epix to stream. And you can get a free trial of Epix.
I almost didn't believe you when you told me. I was like, what?
Yeah,
Epic?
they somehow come on. Like how does Shudder not jump on that and throw a bunch of money at A24 and say bring it to us? Or how does A24 not have their own streaming service? Or
Right.
I have a million questions. How the hell this ended up on Epix before anywhere else and only on Epix? But it seems to be working because everybody's downloading that free trial to try it, and I'm willing to bet a lot of those people are going to forget and pay for the first month. So they also, Epix has a few. They have Spontaneous, which was on my top 10 and Jason's top 10 of 2020. So it's worth at least checking out the free trial. They have some decent stuff. I had never heard of it. It's EPIX streaming.
Yeah.
And like I said, you can get a free trial to check out Saint Maud. I haven't even talked about the movie.
Right.
It's for all the buildup, I was then it went to Epix. I was sort of like, I don't know where to go into this. Like, is it bad? And I thought it was really good. A24 has never disappointed me. They kept that streak going. This movie is freaky and artsy and slow and
Oh, that sounds nice.
yeah, I know it's your comfort movie, but
Mike is rolling backwards.
yeah, I will tell you this, Mike. This might intrigue you. It's only an hour and 24 minutes.
Oh, that'll help. So it'll
Yes.
only feel like a 3-hour movie. Got it.
Right.
Come on.
But the basic premise is really simple. This Maud is a traveling nurse. She gets hired by a rich retired artist who is dying of cancer. So she's like a stay-in-home nurse. She lives in this mansion with this retired artist, and she's basically bathing her and feeding her and cooking for her and does everything for her, make sure her medications are there and stuff. But Maud is very, very religious, and this artist is very artsy, in the way that she likes women and men, and she has a dark past, and she's very not religious. So her and Maud sort of clash heads at times, and meanwhile Maud is convinced that God is sending her signs, and it gets deeper and deeper into the point where Maud is like hurting herself. And I'll leave it at that because of course it's an A24 movie and it's just dark from the beginning and it only gets darker to the end. But some truly haunting shit. I love religious movies for some reason, even though I'm not a religious person. I find organized religion scary, so this movie has some moments. It's hard to even call it a horror movie because it only has a few horrific scenes, but it's definitely dark and brooding. So if you like artsy A24 brooding creepy movies, download Epics and check it out. But I really wish Shudder would have got it because we love Shudder. So that's what I watched.
Awesome. Now, have you guys heard about the urban legend? There's this game called Kill Switch. Apparently, it's a game that it can only be played once, and if you die in the game or you complete the game will delete itself and leave no traces of its existence. And then, speaking of games, back in the day, there was this game called Pole Position, where it was a racing game, and you would drive on this track and race cars, and just so happens to be the name of our online Twitter poll. So here's Jason to tell you all about it with Pole Position.
From now on, like your parents were, you are the secret force of Pole Position.
All right, here we are, Pole Position. Let's take a quick look back at the poll from episode 227. What's your favorite space horror movie? Quick recap. Insane Mike said Planet of the Vampires.
The right answer.
We'll see. We had Jason, that's me, with Aliens, Tad, Life Force, and Andy, Event Horizon. Let's take a look. Oh boy, we got a 3-way tie for first. Let's just say
Wow.
who got last, Mike.
What?
That's right. Everybody but Mike. Oh man.
What did I have for votes?
You had, I don't know how to math this with all them votes. It's just funny that we all tied with 29% of the votes and you got 14%. My bad.
So close.
So close yet so far. But
Man,
anyway.
when it comes to Pole Position, I feel like Jason playing Insane's games here.
I know. Yes, your losing streak continues as well as mine does in Insane's games. Anyway, let's get on to the pole position for this episode. The question is, what's your favorite urban legend? Altogether, in general, your favorite. Insane Mike, you're up first.
I've got it this time.
Oh, I can't wait.
Mine is the Mothman.
You and that Mothman.
Pretty good one.
It is a good one. You kind of get a little bit of mix of everything.
This
when it
might
comes to
surprise
the
you, yeah,
Mothman.
because I don't even know what you're talking about.
Well, it's like a cryptid, but at the same time, there's a supernatural element to it because when bad things happen, like that's when the Mothman kind of comes around as if it's like an early warning device, to warn you that something bad is going to happen. And it kind of all started with the collapse of this bridge. And then people were seeing the Mothman and stuff. So yeah, definitely the Mothman. He's awesome.
Cool. And is the movie Mothman Prophecies about that?
Honestly, I've never seen it.
Okay. Anyone answer that? I've never seen it either. So
I've only seen bits and pieces. So
I mean, it's about it, but it's
okay.
not going to be like,
not the documentary narrative film of it.
yeah, it's not like
Maybe
Yeah,
based
they
on
you're
weren't
going
able
to
to
see the
interview the
Mothman
Mothman.
creature in it, or I think it has more to do with the bridge and stuff.
Sure. All right, I'll go next. Like I've said, I don't know a lot of these, but when I was kind of looking up some, this one it stood out as I think I'd heard it before. So I'm going with Skinwalkers and tell you a little bit about that. I got this little paragraph to read here. It's easy to feel uneasy while driving through the desolate desert roads of Arizona, especially at night, and particularly so when you hear a short burst of taps on your window while cruising at 60 miles per hour and turn to see the shape-shifting, mutilated, half-human creature responsible for the high-speed interruption. Relax, it's only trying to rip the flesh off your bones.
Ah!
This legend is so ingrained in Arizona culture that when a Navajo woman was found brutally murdered in Flagstaff, the accused killer's defense in court was that the attack could have only been perpetrated by a skinwalker. There's even a defined and well-documented portion of the state known as Skinwalker Ranch, where you are most likely to see one of the creatures, not that you'd actually want to. Skinwalkers, that's my pick.
Nice one.
Yeah, that's cool, right? Scary. You shit your pants. You're driving down the road and you hear tap, 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 tap. Fuck that. Anyway, Ted, what's yours?
Mine requires less of a long story because people actually know what it is. What the hell, Skinwalkers? Sorry, that's not going to win. Mine is Hookman, which has been
What the hell's
immortalized.
Hookman?
It's only been immortalized in everything from Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark to Meatballs of Bill Murray to He Knows You're Alone, Shrek the Halls. I mean, this story has been done a million times. I Know What You Did Last Summer. We talked about that on the bonus episode. But the basic story, there's several iterations of it. But the idea is this couple, they're going out in their car and they're making out. And they hear a radio broadcast about a serial killer has escaped a mental institution. And look out for him because he has a hook for a hand. And the guy hears a noise and he goes to investigate it. He disappears, but the woman hears scratching up and down the sides of the car. She gets out to investigate to find a hook hanging from the handle of the car. There's several, like I said, different variations of the story, but that's the very basic one. And it's a classic and I love it. And I don't know why you're laughing, you loser.
I thought you said you weren't going to read a paragraph about it, and then you read a paragraph.
I told engaging story.
Is that what that was?
Yeah.
The version I heard was on his foot.
A hook foot?
That's from
A hook.
Meatballs.
Okay.
Was it
Anyway,
like plowing a garden? or-
maybe somebody's heard of Andy since no one's heard of Hookman.
Well,
Everybody's heard of
actually,
Hookman.
I've officially just changed mine. I was
Good, because I didn't know what your answer was for that either.
Oh yeah, my original answer was Resurrection Mary from the Chicago Cemetery. A lot of people have seen her. You know, she's like asked for rides in a cab, but
Ugh.
she's this ghost that's been around the Chicago area for decades. But
Your official answer.
my official answer is the video game Polybius. And what that is, there was a stand-up arcade unit made by an unknown manufacturer back in the early 80s. And it was this video game called Polybius. And I don't really know much about the gameplay, but supposedly it was put on this boardwalk in Oregon, this arcade boardwalk in Oregon back in the early 80s. And this game became highly addictive to a couple of the teenagers there. And they ended up, both of them ended up having like severe heart attacks after playing this game Polybius. And a lot of health problems, but they could not stop, playing it. And eventually a couple of them died, as the urban legend goes. And two, it was only there for like a couple of weeks. And so that's how much that kind of tells you how much they were playing it. And it was only there for 2 weeks. And then two mysterious men in black, quotation fingers, came and took this game off the boardwalk, and it was never seen again. And it's Polybius.
Yeah, see, that's way spookier than making fun of handicapped people with hook hands and things. That's awesome. That's
Man, I feel like I got it in the bag, man. Like I've got the only one anybody's ever heard of.
well,
Everybody knows the iteration. I mean, they made several movies about.
no one knows
okay?
what you're talking about, Ted. But let's go with
It's called gaslighting, okay, and it's not funny.
let's talk to our pal Bret. Sadly, Twitter only lets us put up 4 answers, but if you got to pick your own, Bret, what would be your favorite urban legend?
Since mine doesn't really count, I'm going to go with one that's not scary. I'm going to go with the Paul McCartney has been dead since November 1966 and was replaced by a lookalike.
I like that one. That's a
Nice.
good one.
Yeah.
The lizard man, Lizard Paul.
Awesome. That's a cool
So-
pick.
Yeah.
Well, all right, everybody, get your butts over to Twitter at AOTKP and vote for your favorite, who you think got it right. Get your votes in over there, and that's the pole position.
I think it's time now we get into talking about some of these urban legend-ish movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not the movie Urban Legend. Jason, what is the first movie we're going to talk about this evening?
The first movie we're going to talk about is from 2016, The Forest.
My sister, Jess.
And I.
We're identical twins. When something happens to one of us, the other one can tell. It's hard to explain, but I can just feel it. She's in trouble and she needs me.
Your sister went into Aokigahara Forest. It's where lost people go to commit suicide.
What? I'm coming, Jess. I'm looking for my sister. She went into forest. I want to hire a guide.
No guide. Forest is very dangerous. Spirits cannot rest there. They come back. Angry.
I can't let you go in by yourself. I have clearance to go in with the guard. I could ask if you could come.
The forest is very dangerous. Do not leave the path.
Oh my God, that's our tent.
Jess! Jess! You cannot stay after dark.
I'm not leaving without my sister.
At night, people see bad things.
You're getting paranoid.
You're not real! You're not real! You're not real!
When her twin sister disappears in Japan, a young American named Sarah, played by Natalie Dormer, becomes determined to find out what happened to her. Sarah's investigation leads her to the legendary Aokigahara Forest, located at the base of Mount Fuji. Accompanied by expatriate Aiden, she enters the mysterious wilderness after being warned to stay on the path. Her investigation plunges her into a dark world where the angry and tormented souls of the dead prey on those who dare to explore the forest. This is directed by Jason Zada. It's pretty much his first feature, but he also wrote the film The House is October Built.
Oh, no way.
Yep.
Oh, man.
And then everyone knows Natalie from Game of Thrones. She played Marjorie Tyrell. She was also in the last couple Hunger Game movies. But yeah, this is a movie. All right. Here's the thing. I think the cinematography was awesome. I think the concept is amazing. The urban legend is spooky and sad and beautiful. You know, it's Japanese.
That's the thing.
Absolute awesomeness, you know.
That's the thing. That urban legend, like, just based on the urban legend alone, makes me not want to go hiking there ever.
Yeah, and I did a little research, and this forest is really amazing. I mean, it is the second highest suicide place in the world, and just oh man, it just looks, it's just crazy.
And the movie captures none of it.
Oh. You know, sort
He talks
of.
to that guy, like, almost off screen, and that's about it. And maybe they find a corpse. Right?
I think there's a lot of potential in it, but yeah, it ends up being a little bit of like, it's fine. I get what they were trying, but my biggest problems are always those dumb CGI jumps. Like it's
Yeah.
all in dreams,
Yeah.
and it's all
All
CGI
in
jumps, and it's just like, come on.
There was a lot of
And
those.
they heavily rely on it to push the horror of the movie. It's just
Yep.
all jump scares.
What were you saying, Brett?
Oh, I was basically just agreeing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's too bad. Like a lot of the things are great. Like I think all the actors are great. I think the setting is amazing. Whether it's the real forest or not, where they shot, I'm not sure
it's
on that. but
Gorgeous.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, the cinematography, it just
there's some moments
It
of like
actually-
amazing camera work, and
and actually maybe I'm going to say this. Maybe I just had this thought. Maybe it's too good
maybe
because the forest was gorgeous. It made me want to
Yeah.
go through and hiking
yeah.
through that forest, and that should not be the feeling I should have with watching this movie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, when she was underground, okay, that was the place you did not want to be. But other than that, when she was above ground, yeah, I would want to go looking around.
Seemed like
And
a
the
nice stroll.
whole- Yeah, the whole side story with the guy she meets up with was, I mean, I don't know if they felt they just needed to push the movie somehow, but I'm like, I don't give a fuck about this guy.
I know
The
because
forest
like he
should
really
be the scary part. Yeah.
right, and the guy character would be interesting, but he really is only just trying to get with her. Like that's really his only. Like that's lame. He does seem to have more depth than that.
It seemed really unnecessary.
Yep.
I'll tell you one fucking amazing scene I thought was when they first meet and she's explaining how her parents died and she's telling a lie, but we're seeing
It's
the real thing. Motherfuck, that
against
was
the
awesome.
actual-
Cause you're like, that wasn't
Yeah.
a car crash. That was a gunshot. And you're like, what is going on? Oh
Yeah,
man.
I was actually a little confused at that
Sure.
moment.
Yeah. And totally. But then, but that's what I really liked it too. Once I, was like, what the hell's going on? Oh, this is the real story? Cool. Jesus. And then that was dark, and it kind of explained the split into twins, personalities, and all that, and how
Yeah.
it could do that, and that's cool. And yeah, this movie, huh?
It was that whole flashback, and with her telling the false story over top of it, was a very interesting and unique way of telling the backstory
Yeah.
that I've never seen before. So I guess I can give it a point for that.
And I go, okay, so and maybe it's spoiler time, but like it's just a bummer that like Sarah. Wait, which one is she? No, she's Sarah, and Jess is the one that went in the forest.
Jess is the.
So she's going looking for
Sarah's the
her,
good sister.
looking for Jess, right? And after all of this, and after everything that goes on in there, and it all being dreams, but like, she really just dies in that cabin on fucking ghost hijinks.
Who's Sarah?
Yeah, Sarah
Is
just
she still in the cabin?
no, but that's where she dies in there when she's
that's
cutting around
right.
the fingers.
What? Oh, so she never did leave the cabin. So the
I
actual
don't think she
final scene with Sarah was not.
She's a
real?
Yuri at that point. I think.
Yeah, she's hallucinating.
Oh, so she's a ghost in that point.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that makes a little more sense. Because, like, at that moment when that happened, I'm trying not to be spoiler early, basically her last moment of the movie, I was like, what the fuck? The ghosts have done nothing physical in this movie whatsoever, and now this happens? I called bullshit on it. And it was kind of a cool visual, but left me feeling nothing because nothing led to that as far as any physical threat or anything beyond what's in her own mind as a threat, So I guess I didn't. I guess I didn't get. I mean, I see it now. But I guess I didn't realize that she was a ghost in that moment. But
Well, yeah, it does that through the whole movie, though. It's kind of tricky on what's the Yuri, the ghost, or not. Like even from the beginning, when she's first walking towards the forest, and that line of girls shoot across the road, and you're like, "Whoa, what the hell?" Well, they were actually ghosts.
The Scoops Ahoy employees.
Yeah, all the
I called out Sailor Moon.
all
at
the
that
Sailor
moment.
Moon girls. Those were ghosts right from the beginning. But you don't. So it's not that it's confusing. You just you get there's just a lot to piece back together, and
I think The positives of the movie.
Yeah.
There was 2 Natalie Dormers, which
Yep.
I'm okay with. The negative was that Sunday, a day before we record this, to lift the curtain a little bit, I was looking and I was like, oh, fuck, I only watched 2 of the movies. And I look up the movie list and I see The Forest and I see the title of the movie and I can't remember if I saw it. And I'm like, I didn't watch that one yet. And then I look it up and I'm like, oh, yeah, I saw that. I forgot about it within days.
Oh,
Completely
my.
forgot I had seen it. Completely gone out of my mind. The title wasn't even familiar. I was like, wait, did I? Oh, okay, Natalie Dormer. Yeah, I saw this one. It was so like forgettable. Literally forgettable. I completely forgot I watched it.
Yeah, it just ends up being fine. I really liked the Michi guy, the guide. I think he was cool. And
Yeah, I liked him too.
Yeah.
But there's the thing. What I think also made me confused in that moment, because I get it with the slit wrist and everything, and then it cuts back to the hand that grabbed her and her chopping off the fingers, and that wasn't the reality. The reality was slicing her own wrist, whatever. Okay, I got that. But I think one of the things that also made me not confused about the whole ghost thing is they focus so hard on how these twins know when something's wrong with each other.
Yeah.
And when Jess makes it out of the woods after being lost for however many days and cannot hear people at her camps, don't know that people are at her campsite for like a day and a half, but yet can hear the anyway, whatever. I'm not gonna get into that. But she has that moment of like, we got to go back and find my sister. We got to go back and find my sister. She came to find me. Blah 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 blah. And then the one thing happens, and then it cuts back to Jess, and she's like, it's gone silent, leading me to think like, okay, this is the payoff of that whole conversation of how like they know when something's wrong with each other. And so that to me was just saying, okay, I know she's dead. So that led me to think that other moment
wasn't
that I'm tiptoeing around was when she did die, but she was just the ghost.
Right.
So I didn't think that paid off very well.
Yeah. I'm curious what you thought, Brett.
I thought it's a good concept for a movie, and it's a good location for a movie. But basically, the same thing that happened to you, Tad, it happened to me, but with a couple years in between. I saw this movie when it came out, and I didn't realize it until I'd hit play. Things started happening, and like not even the description or the because really even the box art or whatever, the poster, the image, it's kind of a little generic. Also, so like I click on it, start watching it, and I'm just sitting there like, I've seen this before, and then I spent the rest of the movie trying to remember when I watched this movie. There was some good parts in it. I did like when she was walking through the forest and she was unrolling the line of rope, and the creepy thing kept like it was in a different spot each time.
Yeah.
And it'd be like the turn around, Sarah. I thought that was creepy. That was cool, and I liked the guide. Did not like the reporter, and then that Hoshiko girl. I thought she was awesome and creepy. The one that she runs into down below.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Down below. So yeah, basically, like you guys said, forgettable.
I think that probably one of my favorite moments of the movie that was because I liked it because like you see movies like Blair Witch and stuff like that, and there's all this leading to like getting lost in the woods and how could this happen? How did we get lost? And they do an interesting thing here that I really liked is they decide that they're going to follow the river to get back because it'll eventually lead to civilization, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she's looking over the edge and she sees a body floating. And I noticed it right away that when it cuts back to him, he's walking in the other direction than the previous shot.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that's weird. And then she even points it out. It's like, weren't you walking in the other direction? She's like, no. And he's like, no, we're following it downstream. And she looks, and the river's going downstream in the same direction that he's actually walking. I thought that was really cool. I thought that was a really cool, disorienting technique there to portray the whole how these people can get lost in these supernatural woods all the time.
Yeah.
That was about it.
$10 million budget, box office, any guesses? 37.5. It did well.
I remember when this came out in theaters and stuff. Like I think it was the typical tad of like PG-13. Wasted concept on a teen movie, but I was sort of right. So
capitalize on the Game of Thrones name with Natalie, and she was great. I mean, it was all fine.
This is like the place. Sorry to interrupt, but the forest. Like, I think there was like that YouTuber Jake Paul or Logan Paul, one of the two. He got like almost canceled because he went into the woods and filmed like actual bodies in the woods.
Jesus.
Yeah.
I heard something. Yeah, he says like, "Are you dead, dude?" I mean,
Oh,
and the guy's
man.
like, clearly, we're looking at a corpse
Whoa.
here.
He put that shit on YouTube, and everybody's like, not
Fuck
cool.
this
Yeah,
guy.
you're a real pile of dog shit.
Oh.
Fuck. Yeah, I think because again, it's not the worst movie in the world.
No, it's fine.
okay. Just my biggest disappointment is that you have such a great concept, a great urban legend to make your movie around, and you just miss the mark.
Yeah, how do we not have a good movie about this yet? I mean, I don't know. How do you? I guess it's hard to sort of dance around the subject of suicide because it's a very it's a serious thing, but doing
it's a real place.
Right. So doing it with respect is really tough, like most people probably just don't want to touch it because it's not worth the controversy.
You want to tell a good story, but at the same time, you don't want to like exploit it and then make money off, the
exactly.
The
tragedy.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
It's on Netflix. You can watch it yourself.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's just not as good as it could be.
It's
exactly,
it's adequate.
Exactly.
It would be my word. It's adequate.
It's filler.
Yeah.
All right, Andy, what's our next movie tonight?
Okay, our next movie comes from 1981. It is, in my opinion, a sleeper slasher that gained a lot of speed. After it got rediscovered. It is called The Burning.
This summer, if you're planning to go camping, don't. If you're looking forward to midnight swims, don't.
Sneak on back to the campsite. Get some matches. Build us a hot fire. Don't be long.
And if you're thinking about being with someone where no one can see you, don't. Because this summer, a legend of terror isn't just a campfire story anymore.
They say he smashed his way through the bunk room door, just a mass of flames. Burned alive, cried out, "I will return! I will have my revenge!" He lives on whatever he can catch. Right now, he's out there, watching, waiting.
Who's there?
What happened one summer 5 years ago is about to happen again, and again, and again. The Burning.
All right, The Burning, a former summer camp caretaker, named Cropsey is horribly burned from a prank gone wrong and lurks around an upstate New York summer camp known as Stonewater. And he's bent on killing the teenagers responsible for his disfigurement. To me, this is actually a gem of a slasher movie, in my opinion, that's probably really got lost in the shuffle of the the major motion picture slasher boom of the late 70s and early 80s. But this is actually a Harvey and Bob Weinstein film. They're both responsible for the story and the screenplay.
And a lot of
people
other
that
bad
work-
things.
Yeah, exactly, and I'll get to that too. I will tie this in. They another person of significance on that worked on this film is Jack Shoulder. He was the editor, and he is known for Alone in the Dark, and he also directed Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2. And of course, we have a guy that you might have heard of. He's done a little work here and there. His name's Tom Savini. He did the special effects and the makeup for this. Yeah, I know. Who's that guy? Basically, like the story says, there's a camp caretaker that's a real rat bastard, and he's a drunk, and they play a prank on him, and eventually he gets set on fire, and it's at this place called Camp Blackfoot. And he's basically in a burn ward for 5 years later, for about 5 years, and there's no skin grafts that will take, and eventually he's rip shit pissed, and he's rightfully so because he's horribly disfigured. Before he goes back and starts killing these poor kids at the camp, which I will get into because you've actually got some pretty big names in this movie. I love this scene where he goes down to 42nd Street and picks up a hooker, and he's dressed like this Cold War spy from like real cloak and dagger shit with the hat and stuff, and we've got like this horrible, not even like good in terms of the monsters, like lightning flash. Did you guys see that?
Oh, so bad.
Oh God, it's awful. It's just like I just want to take that out of this movie. It's terrible. But anyway, he starts getting his penchant for stabbing people with shears, which is you will see throughout the movie. As in terms for names, you've got Leah Ayres. I hope I'm saying this right. Ayres. She plays Michelle. You may remember her as the female in Bloodsport, the romantic interest of Jean-Claude Van Damme. She has to go undercover to get her story. Brian Backer plays Alfred, who you may remember from a movie called Fast Times at Ridgemount High. He played Rat Ratner, and he was also in Police Academy 4, playing the most unconvincing skateboarder I've ever seen.
Wait, more unconvincing than David Spade?
Well, yeah. Well, toss up, right? You have the first movie role, I believe, of Jason Alexander, who he's playing Dave, and he has hair.
He's the summer of George.
That's right. George Costanza from Seinfeld. You have Fisher Stevens, who plays Woodstock, and you may remember him from Short Circuit. Hello, honey, what is for dinner? And My Science Project. And you have the very first film role of Holly Hunter, who plays Sophie, who you may remember her from The Piano and Raising Arizona.
This movie has, I think, out of all of those early 80s slashers, the most successful future cast of all time.
Yeah,
so many people who went on to do bigger and better things.
Right, like Harvey Weinstein.
Hey,
cast. I said cast.
And speaking of our cast, you've got a couple of guys. I don't know their professional acting names, but their names in the movie are Eddie and Glazer. And most of the guys in this movie are like horny and really, they don't really keep their space in between females when the word no is said. So I got to believe that the Weinsteins are damn near based off of Eddie and Glazer. And let's see. you've got some, of course I love writing down some of the lines. A fucking Big Mac overdone by the Black Orderly, and Sally saying "that's all" to Glazer, hilarious. I got a feeling that Jason Alexander put in a lot of his own one-liners.
Oh
in
yeah,
this
he's riffing through this whole thing.
The Weinsteins are not that witty.
Right.
The world bantamweight jerk-off champion, which is ready, set, pork him, or whatever that was said. Of course, Savini's makeup is totally awesome. You've got it shot in that, kind of like that Friday the 13th point of view style a little bit for the most part, until, we see him, in the ruins of Camp Blackfoot, and they're trying to, get away from him after they stole all the canoes. And of course, that great canoe scene with all those Savini effects, it's really, really good stuff. And I think that the way that this has, kind of gained momentum, because I first heard about this maybe about 5 or 6 years ago, about how good this was, because I slept on this movie for quite a while, and I was like, and I bought the Shout Factory release. I was just like, all right, I'll take a chance on it, and I'm very glad I did, because this is a great, great hidden gem if you haven't seen it. It's got all the the kinds of kids that that went to camp. You've got the jocks, the the partiers, the horn dogs, the pervy little peeping toms who actually end up being not all that bad, and they're just misunderstood. A lot of 80s tropes, but a great movie. What do you guys think?
Love it.
Love it.
I'm surprised you hadn't seen it until Shout Factory put out the Blu-ray, because I don't get it. I mean, you watch a lot of weird, obscure stuff, and to me, this was like right up there as far as like Friday the 13th and stuff, because I think it's probably because of Savini is how I found it. But this one was recommended to me back in like high school, and I remember seeing it long ago and becoming one of my favorites because I love the score too.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we just listened to the trailer, and it has a lot of those awesome sound effects and scores and zings, and love that aspect of it. It just feels very 80s and like at the time it was just like really visceral and gory and mean. I still enjoy this one quite a bit.
I am also a huge fan of this movie. Huge fan of this movie. I actually, there's an episode of Killer Critiques that you can watch that I did recently on this movie.
Oh, nice.
This movie was kind of a lost gem after its initial release. It fizzled out really quickly at the box office, but it was just the market was so saturated with slashers. This is what came out at the same time as The Burning. Friday 13th Part 2, Happy Birthday to Me, Final Exam, The Fan, Graduation Day, Eyes of a Stranger, and even a re-release of the Tobe Hooper Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So all of that out at the same time, it's no wonder this movie kind of got lost in the shuffle. And then it became, because I remember when I first heard about this movie, back with my fascination with Tom Savini and his work, and had learned that this was a movie on his resume, and what some of the special effects were, thanks to his Grand Illusions book and a couple of the Scream Greats documentary about Savini, that I had to find this movie. And first of all, it was extremely hard to find on the video store shelves. Could only ever find it once at any video store in all my travels, and it was cut to shit. So by the time it made its way to video, they cut like 90% of the gore out of the movie. All the Savini stuff was gone. But by the time it hit video. So when it came out on DVD with all the gore back in it and everything, I was like, oh yes, finally. And I had bootlegs of it up until that point on VHS with the gore intact. But yeah, the Savini work in this is part of the price of admission, man. This is kind of the reason why you watch this movie. I love the look of Cropsey in this movie. Should mention that's why this one's on the list, because it's very loosely based on the on the New York legend of Cropsey.
All I gotta say is if Nika puts out a freaking Cropsey, I'm there, hands down.
Oh,
easy.
for sure, yeah. Comes with the gardening shears and everything. What a great weapon too. So visually very a very cool weapon. Did do a lot of cool shots with those, like that silhouetted shot of him throwing those blades up into the air.
The sun behind him,
yeah, with the sun behind him and everything. When he's striking down the kids on the raft, freaking beautiful shot. Oh, I love it.
They kind of use like the same concept that they did in Friday the 13th that I noticed, like when the axe would like hit like the lampshade and you'd hear the sound. They would do the same kind of stuff with like the shears. They would be able to like stick the shears in. They would give it substance, you know.
Yeah,
what I mean?
that's a Savini trick right there. Of show that this is a real weapon in one shot, and by sticking it into a side of a tree or whatever, or clanging it against a rock. And then use the fake blade when you're slicing somebody's neck. And it's cooler than like a machete or a butcher knife, because they still got inventive with the kills. Not every single kill was exactly the same. Somebody would get stabbed with it. Somebody would get his fingers chopped off. Somebody would get their neck slit with it. So,
their bicep pinned to a wooden slat, which I thought was kind of neat.
That was very cool. All the acting in this is great again, because you got such a high caliber class of future actors in this. There's a scene in this movie where I turned to Brandy and was making jokes, where it's when they're shooting the guy with the BB gun, and they're standing on the dock, and it's Fisher Stevens, Jason Alexander, Brian Backer, and another dude that I can't even figure out. Was the character's name Fish?
Yeah.
I just want to know if that actor in between takes was like, man, I'm going to go on to be a big star. I don't know about these other three losers in this scene with me, but I'm going to make it. Anyway, but the score, I've forgotten how much I love the score after watching it again for the 100th time over the weekend, but such a great score. My only problem with the movie watching it this time is I watched it on Tubi, and I don't know which version this is, what restoration version this is, but all the night scenes looked like shit. They
look like it was filmed during the day and then just darkened or something.
Yeah, that's why I want to go back and watch the DVD of it and just watch a little closer. I'm wondering if a lot of those night shots were day for night shots, where they shot it during the day and then darkened it up in post. Because when they brightened it up, there's shots where it looks like the middle of a day shooting through the trees and whatnot. But not only that, but the way they were brightening it up, and I have a feeling like, and I'm sorry, if you shoot something and it comes out dark, there's only so much that you can do to make the scene look brighter and better, because they were bringing the light up so much that it made everything look discolored, and it looked like what the Ted Turner used to do to black and white movies in the 80s. Like the colors were way off and like horrible, like pastel looking colors, and it was so jarring and difficult I had a hard time watching those night shots this time around. Like there's the scene where the guy and the girl go skinny dipping, and when she takes off her clothes and she's running into the lake, and she's got really bad tan lines, but her tan lines were so discolored that in this version that I still thought she was wearing a bra and underwear.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you watched some older version, because I watched the Scream Factory one, and it looked a lot better. The blacks were black, and
yeah,
good,
and the butt was white,
and the butt was white.
So
you should definitely get the Scream Factory.
Good.
Guys, this was a first time watch for me. This wasn't even on my radar. Yeah, this wasn't even on my radar.
Sorry.
Well, thank you to you guys for letting me in on the burning fun. This movie was awesome. I thought Tom Savini did awesome with the effects. It was great to see Jason Alexander skinny with hair and just young as fuck. And then, like Mike was saying with the shears, I like because it would do the POV shots from the killer's perspective, and then it would show the shears like in that POV shot, and like it would do like an open and close, and you just hear the shoo, shoo, shoo. Oh, I loved it. Great movie.
Yeah, and those are like badass set of shears. They're not like kind you can just go get at Walmart. They're like
high chrome,
oh
shiny.
yeah, they look fucking nasty. Yeah, just something about just those pointy ends. It's just scary. It's a great weapon for sure. I'm with you. I've loved this movie forever, and it's awesome. And Savini's work is great, and kids suck, and
Cropsy's death was just off the chain good.
Terrible.
Oh yeah, that axe to the head is.
I mean, he was scary looking before he got burned, and then just
and then they turned him into a crispy critter again.
Terrible.
I would say I have the old DVD still too, and the artwork on the front of that is so bad. Like if it's amazing that it took that long to finally come out on DVD, and when it did, they chose that for the cover. It's not doing it any favors. It's like
Flames, isn't it? It's generic, right?
The cover that I have is like black and white, and it's like in a forest, and it has just a silhouette of Cropsy walking in like the detective type hat and coat. It's like, what is this? Like, it's just so bad. And then, Shout Factory put out that Blu-ray with the awesome artwork of him, like with the shears over like a river of blood. It's just awesome.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's great. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I want some merch from this. I want like a baseball shirt, and I want an action figure, and
yes,
action figure.
Sure.
I mean, like you're saying with Naked, they could do like an ultimate with an unburned head, and then a burned head, and the shears and regular hands and burned hands, and
with
with
the prank skull with the candle lights in it
and the worms crawling on it.
Yeah.
I like when Cropsy, he goes to get his revenge. He has to take some of the responsibility himself for what happened to him. I mean, that's what he gets for sleeping on a bed covered in gasoline, because that bed went up fast.
Right? Yeah, and he like pulls a candle onto himself. I mean,
he
was
not
probably
like covered in whiskey because he was so fucking hammered all the time.
And fun trivia fact: when you see the legs catch on fire and they're kicking in bed, those are Tom Savini's legs.
Oh, nice.
When I saw him like pre-burn, I was like, "Is that?" The first time I watched it, I was like, "Is that Clint Howard?" No.
Yeah, kind of.
How's that look though?
I always thought it was the guy who played the sheriff dad in Friday the 13th Part 6 when I was younger. But that's the burning.
Yeah, don't watch it on Tubi.
Do not watch it on
the
Tubi.
Scream Factory.
Buy the Shout Factory release and you won't regret it anyway.
For sure.
I feel like I'm going to have to now.
Yep, you have to.
Oh yeah,
It's the rules.
Do it now.
I was actually when I was going to watch this one last note, I Googled. I was like, Joe Bob's probably done this at some point, right? I want to watch it with Joe Bob because I've seen it, a dozen times without him, and he hasn't done this one somehow. So
there's some weird licensing thing going on with it, right?
Yeah, come on, Shudder. Like, this is right up Joe Bob's alley. Like, he's got to do this one.
Well, yeah, I would assume there is a lot of licensing issues and why it took so long to get to DVD and stuff. I mean, it's got the Weinstein's name attached to it.
Oh yeah, that's probably part of it.
Yeah.
Was it their first? Sorry.
Yeah, it was their first. I think it was their first foray into movie making after being music promoters or whatever. So.
Yep.
All right, Tad, what's our third movie for this evening?
Our third movie is from 2009, and it is Triangle.
You know what I do when I have a bad dream? I close my eyes, and I think of something nice.
So let's go sailing.
Wind's out on us. Get out. Get the life jacket.
Oh, thank God.
Hello? Where is everybody?
You
enter a place you have never been.
I recognize this corridor.
Everything you see, you have seen before.
It's starting over again. That's what's going on. Everything that happened to you before. He's dead! Change the pattern. You changed the pattern and we're not tracked. Who are you?
Okay, Triangle. Basically, a group of friends go sailing and are hit with a very, very big and sudden storm. They are overturned on a lifeboat, so they board a gigantic ship, and shit starts getting weird. I don't know, man. How much of this do we even want to spoil? Because this is a mind bender of a movie. I made the mistake that I try not to ever do anymore, and I sort of Googled it first, trying to figure out which, because there's several movies called Triangle, so I'm trying to figure out which one it is, and I find this one, and it has very high rating on Rotten Tomatoes, and it has like Liam Hemsworth in it, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be like a really high end movie, and I wasn't disappointed per se. It just wasn't what it sort of changed what I wish I would have gone in completely blind is what I'm trying to say. But stars Melissa George as Jess. We have Joshua McIver as Tommy, Jack Taylor as Jack, Michael Dorman as Greg, Heather is played by Emma Lung, and then Liam Hemsworth, a very young Liam Hemsworth, plays Victor. So yeah, this group of friends, when they go through the storm, they end up on this gigantic ship, and things are not exactly as they seem. There's some. How do we even want to dance around this one? I mean,
we just want to give a big spoiler alert shout out, and then if they don't want to hear, they can skip ahead.
We're gonna spoil this one.
It's
so
2009. Yeah, it should be.
Yeah, it's been out for a while, so this wasn't on my radar. This is the first time watch for me.
Same.
Same.
I had heard about it, but I had heard good things, but I just never got around to seeing it until now. But
see, that's the thing. I'm not, I don't get all bent out of shape about spoilers personally, because sometimes spoilers will get me to watch a movie, and that's the case with this movie. It's like I mentioned earlier. I watch a lot of stupid top 10 lists on YouTube, and this showed up on a list of I forget what the list was, but different horror movies. And when they described it and what was going on in this movie, then I'm like, oh, I've got to see this. Yeah, that's what got me to see it.
We just did a group watch of Coherence, and this is very much up that alley of mindfuckery. And actually, when you go on the IMDb, the first thing it recommends if you like this movie is Coherence. So basically, there's a like alternate reality type thing where every time they board this ship, there's like another version of that character. And there's a scene in this movie, spoiler again, where she sort of finds this like pit of a character. Like there's like a dozen of this woman.
My shit.
Yeah, that scene was fucking awesome.
Oh,
yeah, I was
fuck.
I think that's exactly what I said out loud.
Changer.
Yeah. I mean, throughout the movie, there's a lot of like, okay, what the fuck's going on? You're trying to figure it out. They go into the room and there's all this fresh food, and it's clear that someone's been there, but there's nobody there. And she keeps the main character Jess keeps seeing somebody out of the corner of her eye trying to catch them. It turns out it is herself that she's seen in a different reality. So even then, it's like, which one are we following? She keeps trying to change the course of how these characters die because they're getting picked off one by one. But it's once again, like, how do you change the course? Because that's still going to happen. And it's like, she knows how this is going to end. So how can she change it? Yeah. What did you guys think?
Well, two things. It didn't take forever, but 5 minutes or less into the movie, I'm like, Bermuda Triangle. I get it.
That's why it's on the episode. Although I don't think they ever called that
Not
out.
really.
Did they?
No, I mean,
No,
but
they
then-
said
The name of the
that-
boat.
Yeah, it's the name of the boat, and I read also in the trivia on IMDb that originally there was a lot of, or not a lot, but several references to the Bermuda Triangle,
Huh.
and they even filmed some of that stuff. But when they started editing, they're like, let's just not throw that in there, and so it I sort of wish they would have changed the title of the movie, because they cut all that stuff out because they just want it to be more open and sort of like.
And
Not
it
quite
is.
not quite on the nose, but yeah.
Well, and then so like I don't even think it was halfway through the movie, and I was just like, but it's a loop. So it, like that's, I don't want to simplify it too much, but like, like once you recognize that it's a loop, well, then but it's a loop. So you can't change the loop because it's a loop. And even though, and so if you take that concept, this movie does a really awesome thing halfway through the loop where you really think it did get changed, and they start this whole other kind of storyline. You're like, oh shit, but in your head, you're like, but you can't alter the loop because it's a loop, And but they really made you think that the loop was affected and changed, but turns out it's just a bigger loop. So that was fucking great and awesome. But yeah,
I have a theory. When they get onto the boat and they read that story about that Greek god, about how they cheated death and they were supposed to repeat this task over and over all the time. I believe that the taxi driver is deaf, and she promises to be back, but she kind of breaks her promise, so she has to keep going through this over and over and over again, because she dies in that car wreck at the end, and he's taking her. He's taking her away. He just goes, I'll stay right here. I'll leave the engine running. You promise you'll be back? And she says, I'll promise I'll be back. But she leaves and she goes on the boat ride. So now she's stuck on the boat, having to go through this thing over and over and over again. At least that was my take on it. I feel like I still need to watch this. I feel like I need to watch this movie again to really absorb everything else. But I mean, that was my take on it. That she has to. She's the one that's actually cursed.
It's interesting that you bring that up. But did you say that thing they read was from Greek mythology?
I think so. It was on the boat. I don't know it verbatim. I'm kind of paraphrasing what they said.
Maybe I'll go back and look at it, because that just instantly makes me think of Norse mythology and Ragnarok. And I don't know any of my mythology very well, other than based on comic books. And so my understanding is Ragnarok was kind of the same thing, where they are fighting. They're fighting to save their homeland in a constant loop. Every time they die, they come back, and every time they kill one of the bad guys or whatever, they come back, and it's a continual loop for all of eternity. So that's why I was asking if it was Greek or.
Yeah, there's a whole other side plot to the story. Our lead character, Jess, has an autistic son, and that's sort of where it starts and ends the movie. Yeah, I don't know. I'll be honest, I wasn't a big fan of hers, the actress, Melissa George. I don't know what it was about her, but then I read in the trivia that they were looking at casting Lindsay Lohan. I'm like, okay, Melissa George wasn't so bad.
Way better.
Bullet dodged.
Yeah.
Brandy and I were cracking jokes that they should have named this movie Head Turn the Movie, because there's so many head turns from her in this movie.
Yeah.
Dramatic head turns.
Yeah, you just think, I mean, I guess I love Andy's deduction, but to me, the obvious thing is like, this is her hell, obvious, because she killed and this, so she's doomed to repeat it. Yeah, those two giant moments or both the same thing happens where you find a pile of things. I mean, of that fucking girl up in the boat. Jesus Christ, that
was
scene
awesome.
was
because it's the girl crawling away through dead bodies of versions of herself.
Jesus, that's fucking morbid as fuck.
Multiple lockets and such.
Yeah,
as
there's
well.
there's the thing with all the lockets, and then there's the one.
I was
going to
say. Yeah. So yeah, it's not a loop. It's like a figure eight because there's like two. Just you think they get out of the loop, and then when she's standing on the side there and she throws the bird, and then you're like, oh, it's still a loop, motherfucker. She's not out. God damn. So that part was kick ass. When those moments happen.
What about the girl that gets drug out of the boat? Now, wouldn't technically she be part of the loop, or does it? You have to be on the boat at some point to be part of the loop.
Oh, her loop would be terrible. It's just drowning over and over again.
Exactly. Right.
Oh.
I just think it's like her it's her chunk of time that she's constantly in the loop on. Like, I mean, none of those people survived that ordeal, obviously, but everybody else, in the surroundings, I would assume, just continue on with the day. But it's her loop.
It makes for a fun mystery story and trying to figure it out. And even when you do realize it's a loop, you still find yourself like, how can I figure this out? And because you're following her, trying to outsmart herself, and she can't do it, and it's not going to do anything, but you're still trying to like, how would you get out?
My main concern about this when I was watching this, as a writer, how the fuck would you make this a coherent script to trying to make people read this? I was just thinking to myself, Jesus, this would have been, I can understand it like unfolding in my mind, but like putting it on paper would have been a son of a bitch.
Yeah.
I love how they throw moments in too where it seems like she can alter the outcome of things, and then when you get to when you think that she's made it, you're convinced. And that whole time, even when she's walking up to the house and you're starting to put those pieces together, it's like, fuck, this is the beginning of the movie. She's still in the loop. You're still like hopeful that she's going to get out of this, and she never does. And I love how too, oh man, this is a movie that's worth another watch. Now you know exactly the outcome.
I was going to say, like,
because when she comes walking up on the docks, it is shot for shot the exact same thing, she's saying, the exact same expressions on her face, all of that. It's the beginning of the movie. At the end of the movie, and
different context and
different context on what she's going through in that moment.
I was going to say, what makes movies like The Sixth Sense so great is that you can go back and look for clues. Well, this movie is all about that. It's clue after clue after clue of what just happened in different contexts, and it's there's so many layers of what the fuck.
And you just become in denial while watching this movie.
Absolutely.
Because you think that she can get out of this, even though you get the major clues are those same moments you talked about. Because the lockets, hundreds of the exact same locket in the bottom of this little drain or whatever, and all of the dead bodies of the one girl, and so you're sitting there, it's like, this has happened hundreds and hundreds of times by now. But to us as the audience, we're only on like the third time when we see the bodies. Yeah. So that was one of the first things that popped in my head when she makes it to land. I'm like, but all those bodies, she's supposed to continue I thought it was ingenious. I thought the whole, all of that. I thought it was just brilliant.
Oddly enough, you could probably watch the movie in reverse and it'd still be coherent.
It's the same movie. It's a what's the word called? I can't think of it.
The words that are saying forward and backwards.
Yeah,
that thing.
Like race car.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. I could not wait to talk about this movie tonight and hear what you guys had to say about it, because I loved this so much.
It's actually, it's very interesting.
So yeah, this movie, is this, so I compare this with The Forest. This movie has equally horrible CGI in it, but the story lets me be okay with it. Whereas in The Forest, I can't. It's hard for me to tolerate it in The Forest. So I can look past it a lot more in this because it's so much more engaging, and because the CGI is not great in this either. I mean, that boat floating upside down out in the water, that's pretty bad. And you know, but I don't know, you know, I found it easier to deal with.
I accepted it because things felt like moments in the movie felt like a dream like quality to it for some reason, and that's how I took every time she looked out on the water and saw them on the upside. It looked like shit, but at the same time I'm like, there's kind of like a dream reality to everything that's going on, so that's why I thought it was intentional. Maybe the room that had the words painted in blood on the mirror, anybody notice the room number?
237. 237.
Shining.
A lot of Shining references with an axe.
Oh my gosh!
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I thought this was really good, guys, too. First time also for me. I hadn't seen any of these movies tonight.
Awesome.
Well,
nice.
the I guess the first one.
You have.
I guess I had seen that, but I'll forget that again. Don't worry. But no, the triangle. I'm gonna have to watch this again, like you said, and just try to you know.
Map it.
Try to follow, map it and follow it along, and try to, you know, because the first time you're watching this, you're not expecting that, you know, all of that it gave you. So I'm pretty excited to watch this again. It was a good movie.
There is a moment between her on the dock and when the ship wrecks where that's the moment I want to watch again, because there's a moment there where she forgets everything. Because there's a scene on the boat on how she's talking about how like something seems familiar about this or something like that, and I can't really remember why or whatever. So I kind of want to pinpoint that moment because that would help the loop if she does kind of forget, and all of her motivations are exactly the same all over again when she gets on the boat.
Mind fuckery, Tad said. He's right.
Mm-hmm.
That should be on the poster.
Pretty good.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's the triangle, and that is the movies. That concludes the movies that we're going to talk about this episode. But don't worry, though. There's plenty more show to go. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to have segments here on Attack of the Killer Podcast. You're going to hear first, though, a promo of our podcast network called the Prescribed Films Podcast Network. Check out all the shows by going to thepfpn.com. You can hear even our newest show on the network. Some show called, I don't know, Bret and Tony. So
it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Thanks, guys.
So check that. Yeah, you bet. So we'll be right back after this.
You're listening to the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, home to hundreds of hours of free podcast entertainment. The shows on this network all in goal, providing you with the best discussions about movies and other forms of entertainment media. The PFPN hopes to fill your earholes with audio joy. Visit our website with links to all the other amazing shows at www.thepfpn.com. Thanks for listening.
Welcome back to the show, and now it is time for segments here on Attack of the Killer Podcast. As we always do, because you demanded it, we're going to start off with shout-outs.
It's time for shout-outs! 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 Shout-outs!
All right. Well, I hate to be that guy, but I want to back up a little bit. It's just triangle. It's not the triangle. Sorry. No, it's important. You said there's a lot of them, so I'm just trying to help.
Triangle. I think there's even
2009
two of them from 2009.
But the other one has the other Hemsworth brother.
Oh my gosh! Stop it! All right, we asked, what are your favorite? What are your
isosceles triangle? Too.
Oh my! What are your favorite urban legend-based horror movies? And sadly, I don't think our listeners like urban legend movies. There just aren't a lot of shout-outs this week. It's weird, but we got a few. And up first, we got Nick Leadham. He says...
Knew we can count on Nick.
Oh, yeah. He goes with Black Christmas.
Yes, the whole...
Stranger
Caller in the house,
Caller in the house trope. Yep.
And Candyman.
Oh, yeah. There's your hook killer.
Never heard of it.
Bloody Mary, sort of. Yeah.
Oh, it's the Hook Killer. It's based on the Hook Killer, the Hook Man that you guys
like.
like.
5 times thing. You say it in the mirror.
And then he says Madman is pretty fun too. Madman.
Yeah.
And Hookman.
Never heard of that one. And then up next,
I've heard of Madman. Just not a big fan. It does have oh my gosh. The girl from Dawn of the Dead. I can't remember her name right now.
Okay, moving on. We got Erica Schultz. Erica, she's on the Customers Also Watched an Unsung Horrors podcast on thepfpn.com. And her answer is an awesome one, my favorite one, Alligator.
Yes, I love Alligator. That almost made it through the episode, but it wasn't streaming anywhere. So she likes it probably because the child got eaten.
That's got to be one of the reasons. And then lastly, of course, oh man, Tim Lennerer. He says, "You ready for the shortest comment I'll ever give?"
It's already not.
Well, no, he normally gives us a book, which is awesome. But here's his answer: motherfucking alligator.
Yeah.
So yeah, nothing in the. So this was in the group edition. Nothing on the page. Nothing on Twitter. Nothing on Instagram. Come on, people. Let's hear them shout outs. Remember, you can give us a call on our voicemail number if you want to get your voice on this segment. You can call us at 415-952-6857 or 415-95-AOTKP. Leave us that voicemail and we'll play it on the show. That is shout outs.
Thank you, Jason.
You're welcome, Mike.
It is time now to go to the theater of the mind. That is, if your mind is heavily on drugs. Because it is time now for Recasting with Christian Slater.
Greetings and salutations, and welcome to another edition of Recasting with Christian Slater. And against your better judgment, you're still listening. Tonight, we're pretty much going to have a one-man show as we cover a very early 2000s horror film by the name of American Psycho. In with us in the studio today, playing the role of Patrick Bateman, is Don Knotts. Don, are you here? Yeah! Christian? When can I go home? Unfortunately, none of us can go home. We're all stuck here. It's like a goddamn loop. Inexplicably, we're joined by Gary Busey, who's not even supposed to fucking be here. Gary, what do you want? I have been told by my Kama Sutra / breakdancing instructors to stay here and wait for the mysterious transvestite tap dancing Eskimo. He will give me the secret to life itself. Now, I've been told he drives a sweet Z28 with crackers on it, and he will be selling marmalade out of the hatchback. Now, I know that it's not very PC to say words like transvestite and Eskimos and all this shit.
I have nothing against transvestites. I have nothing against Eskimos, but I fucking hate tap dancers. Gregory Hines scares the fucking shit out of me.
Jeez. Oh. Inadvertently, we've just had our anti-drug PSA for the show. Gregory Hines is fucking dead.
A tap dancing zombie? Jesus. I still gotta wait. I'm waiting. I'm not going anywhere.
Well, if you're not going anywhere, you want to make yourself useful and play the role of Sabrina.
Wouldn't be the first time I've been called Sabrina. Let's do it.
Here we go. Here goes nothing. Interior, Bateman's apartment, night. Christy is in the bathtub. Bateman is pouring in milky white bath oil.
That's a very fine Chardonnay you're drinking.
Long pause in which Christy is luxuriating in the tub and Bateman is casually touching her breasts.
I want you to clean your vagina.
Christy reaches for a washcloth.
No! From behind! Get on your knees!
Christy shrugs.
I want to watch. You have a very nice body.
The doorman rings. Bateman answers.
Thank you. Send her up. Christy, get out and dry off. Choose a robe, not the pajama, and come meet me and our guest in the living room for drinks.
Bateman answers the door.
You've arrived. How lovely. Let me take your coat. I'm Paul. How good of you to come.
The escort girl looks somewhat bewildered. Bateman takes her coat and inspects her body and face.
Not quite blonde, are you? More dirty blonde. I'm going to call you Sabrina. I'm Paul Owen.
Bateman escorts her into the living room and brings her a glass of wine. Christy enters, sitting next to Sabrina on the couch, and Bateman sits across from them. There is a long silence.
So do you know what I want to do? Don't you know what I want to do?
The two girls look at each other with uncomfortable smiles. Christy shrugs.
No, not really.
That's very good, Gary. Good job. Bateman is visibly irritated, recrosses his legs.
Well, I work on Wall Street at Pearson Pierce. Have you heard of it?
Another long pause. They shake their heads. Christy stands and goes over to the CD collection. Sabrina stands and goes over to the CD collection.
You have a really nice place here, Paul. How much did you pay for it?
Actually, that's none of your business, Sabrina. I can assure you it wasn't cheap.
Bateman leaves to refill his wine glass, and Sabrina takes a pack of cigarettes out of her purse. Bateman returns carrying a tray of chocolates.
No smoking, not in here.
He walks over to Christy.
Varda truffle?
Christy stares at the plate and shakes her head. Sabrina takes one.
I don't want you to get drunk, but that's a very fine Chardonnay you're not drinking.
Bateman goes over to his CDs and scans his vast selection. He takes one out and examines it.
Do you like Phil Collins? I've been a big Genesis fan ever since the release of their 1980 album, Duke. Before, I really didn't understand any of their work. It was too artsy, too intellectual. It was on Duke where Phil Collins' presence became more apparent. He puts aside the CD and takes out another one.
I'm reading the wrong one.
I think Invisible Touch is the group's undisputed masterpiece.
He puts on the song and gestures for them to follow him into the bedroom.
It's an epic meditation on intangibility. At the same time, it deepens and enriches the meaning of the preceding three albums. Christy, take off your robe.
Bateman puts out a lace teddy. He motions to Christy to put it on.
Listen to the brilliant ensemble playing by Banks, Collins, and Rutherford. You can practically hear every nuance of every instrument. Sabrina, remove your dress. Bateman starts to undress. In terms of lyrical craftsmanship and sheer songwriting, the album hits a new peak of professionalism. Sabrina, why don't you dance a little? Sabrina dances awkwardly. Christy sits on the bed. Take the lyrics the way into confusion. In this song, Phil Collins addresses the problems of abusive political authority. Bateman knots a silk scarf around Christy's neck, rather menacingly. Then he helps her into some suede gloves. In Too Deep is the most moving pop song of the 1980s, about monogamy and commitment. The song is extremely uplifting. Their lyrics are positive, as affirmative as anything I've heard in rock. He turns on the video camera. Christy, get down on your knees so Sabrina can see your asshole. Bateman looks through the viewfinder. This is getting good. Gary, do you need to fucking ad-lib? Sorry, proceed. Jesus Christ. Go ahead, Don. Phil Collins' solo efforts seem to be more commercial and therefore more satisfying in a narrower way, especially like songs like In the Air Tonight and Against All Odds. Sabrina, don't just stare at it. Eat it.
Oh,
He walks over to the sound system in his bedroom and slides in the CD. But I also think that Phil Collins works better within the confines of the group than as a solo artist, and I stress the word artist. This is a studio. A great, great song. A personal favorite. End scene. Gary, put your pants back on, please. I'm going to go take some Valium and lay down. See you next time on Christian Slater's Recasting. Jesus fucking Christ.
That's right. It's time once again for Insane's Picks, and it's time to induct another artist into the Insane's Picks Hall of Fame. For this episode, I am inducting one of the big dogs in the world of Insane's Picks films, a filmmaker who has worked in B movies since the early 80s, doing everything from writing, directing, producing, and some more. He's worked with such people as Tracy Lords, Dick Miller, Barbara Crampton, Jennifer Love Hewitt, Heather Locklear, Lonnie Anderson, Angus Scrimm, and even Corey Haim. We are talking about, of course, Jim Wynorski. A veteran in Hollywood in the exploitation field, Jim Wynorski is responsible for over 150 varied movies in various genres from horror, action, sci, softcore, and even family films. He moved to California in 1980 and got a job as a location manager for the TV show Breaking Away. After he got fired from that job, he was on a flight one day back to LA when he met who had connected to Roger Corman. He arranged a meeting for Jim to meet with Roger, and Jim quickly found himself working for Mr. Corman. He started out coming attractions for all the company's new action and horror films. Soon after that, Roger offered Jim the first of many writing and directing assignments. Jim's first writing assignment was the script for the film Sorceress in 1982. After writing a couple scripts for Roger, Jim got to make his directorial debut with the 1984 film The Lost Empire. Jim, a big fan of film, especially horror, sci-fi, he wanted to make sure Lost Empire had everything, and I do mean everything in it that he loved, just in case he never got to make another movie. However, little did Jim know that he would continue to make movies for the next 40 years. A distributor at one point wanted a flick about a killer in a shopping mall, and Roger Corman chose Jim to come up with something and direct it. Jim and co-writer Steve Mitchell thought the slasher genre was getting old, and instead came up with a script about killer robots killing teens in a mall, and thus the classic 1986 film Chopping Mall, one of my personal favorites, was born. From that moment on, Jim Wynorski turned out an average of 3 to 5 films a year as a director, and even more as a producer and writer. Throughout the 1980s came a steady stream of wild exploitation titles like Big Bam Mama 2 in 1987, Not of This Earth from 1988, and Return of the Swamp Thing in 1989. Wynorski established his own production company, Sunset Films, which he ran with Andrew Stevens. It was a division of Sintel Films, and they made such classics as Vice Girls in 1997, Sorceress 2, The Temptress in 1999, Hard Bounty in 1995, Demolition High in 1996, Against the Law in 97, Stormtrooper in 98, and Desert Thunder in 99. As the years went on and tastes changed, Jim kept hip by innovating new special effects techniques that landed the director no less than 7 world premieres on the Sci-Fi Channel, with such films as Gargoyle, The Curse of the Kimono, Project Viper, and Cry of the Winged Serpent. I am a big fan of Jim Wynorski. My favorite films of his, of course, are like Chopping Mall, Lost Empire, Not of This Earth, just to name a few. And I had the honor of getting to meet him several years ago at B-Movie Celebration in Franklin, Indiana.
I'm so glad you got to.
Oh, yeah, totally. And it was great to get to hear a lot of great stories from Jim about his years in making movies. And if you want to get more insight on Jim Wynorski, you need to check out the documentary Papatopoulos from 2009. It's an awesome documentary that covers his career and follows the filmmaker as he makes his 70th film, Witches of Brestwick, that he shot in 3 days. So for this Insane's Picks Hall of Fame, we induct the giant, the master of in the field of B-movie and exploitation filmmaking, Jim Wynorski. So that is another episode of Attack of the Killer Podcast. Let's hear it for our very special guest, Bret Royer, everybody.
Brett. Thanks, guys. Man, this was awesome.
Good. Thanks for being on, man. This has been great having you. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Tell everybody where we can follow you on the interwebs.
And where they can get your books.
Oh, yeah, writer.
Yep. First off, the Bret Tony Podcast. It's pretty much available everywhere: Spotify, all the Podbean, and everything. And then over on Amazon.com, you can order. I've got a couple books on there: Malice on the Mississippi River, and then Iowa Grindhouse. So, order one of those.
Yeah, definitely. Yes. Thanks again for being on, Bret. This was a lot of fun, man. So after listening to this episode, your life may be changed forever. You may now believe that we actually exist, or maybe you just think we are urban legends. That is up for you to decide. Thank you for listening, and talk to you on the next episode of Attack of the Killer Podcast.
Oh no, could this be the end of? Attack of the Killer Podcast.